Hey, welcome back, guys. Book 2's latest entry, Exceeding Expectations, was a character builder for our new main lead and found him navigating around his many obligations in a quest to not only do what's right, but what's practical for his family and for himself. The title is a play on the classic novel Great Expectations by Charles Dickens and explores its moral themes, that being love, loyalty, and conscience are more important than ambition, personal advancement, and riches. It's a tale that places the protagonist on a moral seesaw, allowing space for him to exist in a virtuous gray area in between his many maneuvers. In today's video, we'll count down the top 10 WTF moments from the episode and predict where the series may be headed based on what we've seen thus far. Before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Here we go. WTF moment number 10, meet Paula Matarazzo. In the episode's first scene, we meet series newcomer Paula Matarazzo, lead investigator for Davis McLean. Matarazzo is rightfully skeptical of Tasha's story, though simultaneously unsold on the kingpin accusations against her. In fact, her skepticism harkens back to another former counsel in Power's first go-round. Her fate will surely be much different in spite of the correlation, however. As a character, she comes off focused, precise, and astute. McLean will require Paula's expertise to prove that Sachs and the feds at large are overcharging Tasha for political reasons. WTF moment number 9, Bruchandria's revenge. Remember back in episode 1 when Lauren broke down the black classroom demographic to Tariq? She mentioned 3 names, Khalid, Richard, and Bruchandria. The latter of the 3 gets an excellent scene this episode, vigorously reading any person, white or black, foolish enough to mock her or her name. This notably occurs in her exchange with Richard, who commits the former offense and subsequently learns the first rule of business. Well played, light-skinned Keisha. WTF moment number 8, Monet gotta have a life too. So it turns out, the cop who pulled up on the Tejadas in episode 1 was romantically involved with Monet. Danilo Ramirez questions Monet's loyalty to Lorenzo, her husband who's currently locked down. She conveys her value for protection over connection, much to his chagrin. He serves a physical need for the queen pin, but you can tell that's where it ends given her nonchalant body language and criminal position. I think there's a pending confrontation brewing between Ramirez and Kane, Monet's son, who's suspicious of his mother's secret affair and hostile to it for obvious reasons. We'll see what happens with that going forward. Another interesting tidbit though, did you all notice the tattoo on the cop's shoulder? It looks eerily familiar to another tattoo we've famously seen flaunted on the show. Could there be a connection? The Power Brass has alluded to Ghost returning in other forms and even him having a potential sibling. Could Ramirez be more critical to our story than what we know? Just a few things to keep in mind as the Easter eggs continue to pile up. WTF moment number 7, Stern requests a eulogy. Stern enlists Tariq to defy McLean's request of trashing Ghost's name at his funeral and instead provide a compelling narrative that would be fortuitous to all parties, including James's estate and every business they're in. Remember, Stern has an interest to protect, as it's Tariq's trust that will regain him truth. Simon stresses to Tariq the importance of his father's image remaining unblemished, all things considered. He also provides a new perspective on Ghost, enlightening the Junior St. Patrick on aspects of his father previously unconsidered. The relationship between ambition and moral code is revisited here as well, something Tariq is more open to given his current studies. Stern's clarification combines a lesson for Tariq, a lesson on his father, and coincides with the lesson at hand, Great Expectations. WTF moment number 6, Carrie Milgram, Addicts Anonymous. So I meant to address this in our episode 1 breakdown, but let's just get it out of the way. Carrie Milgram is absolutely stunning. I mean, distractingly so. She exudes a subtle sensuality with every scene, so it's not surprising that her afflictions would surface this prominently. As previously suggested, Carrie and Jabari had a prior relationship to the events of Book 2. In fact, Jabari wrote a book about their encounters, crystallizing Carrie in a light he could no longer grasp before their reconciliation and his subsequent hiring at Stansfield. Carrie's overt concern for Tariq brought her to her former lover's office, and things certainly spiraled from there. Following this event, Carrie is shown meeting with her sexual addiction counselor. She provides Carrie with a game plan to avoid such encounters going forward. However, with such an affliction, backsliding is par for the proverbial course, and we'll be seeing much more from Carrie's Zane novel-worthy side in the episodes to come. WTF moment number 5, a snitch is coming to dinner. Tariq joins the Tejadas for dinner thanks to Zeke, the aforementioned basketball star who he's been assigned to tutor in exchange for enrollment. The family meal was interrupted by Uncle Frank, Lorenzo Tejada's brother, who had been released from prison much earlier than expected. Frank is met with love and admiration from his family, especially Kane. He also displayed an R. Kelly level of affection for his young niece Diana, who had really filled out, according to him. Rightfully skeptical of the murky circumstances surrounding his release, Monet abbreviates the meal and designates each family member to execute a role, notably Kane and Drew. Drew is assigned to grab a drink with Frank, and Kane is responsible for getting Tariq back to school, a standout moment in the episode where Tariq flexes his ghost-like nature for all fans of the fallen patriarch to see. Even though Reek was behind his father's demise, you couldn't convince me that Ghost wasn't smiling down from power heaven following the way his son handles such a seasoned gangster. Pure thuggery on display. As for Frank, he's executed in true rat-like fashion by his beloved nephew Kane and subsequently chopped to bits. WTF moment number 4, Vigil gone wrong. Carrie expresses concern for Tariq following their meeting earlier in the episode. She attempts to provide support for him through a specialized vigil where her prized pupil could express his feelings in a healthy way. However, she botches her attempt to get Tariq to reconcile his feelings, unaware of Tariq's negative reception of overt attention. Though failing in her efforts, the maneuver was true to form for Carrie, who's been described as a woman overwhelmingly concerned with the upheaval of troubled black men. It factors into her previously explored struggles as well as her given profession. Ultimately, though, Tariq hasn't completely faced his demons in regards to his father's death, and that factors into his withdrawn nature in addition to being Ghost's son. So Carrie will have to dig deeper if she wants to reach someone as unique as him. WTF moment number 3, McLean versus Saxe. Saxe and McLean officially face off before the trial judge, both trying to gain footing over the other prior to our main event in the episodes to come. McLean accurately argues that the prosecution engaged in misconduct in overcharging Tasha federally as opposed to locally. On the other hand, Saxe argues that the prosecution used discretion prior to the heavy charge. Jenny Sullivan, the original prosecutor on the case, and Blanca Rodriguez are cross-examined before the trial judge. Sullivan's testimony nearly destroyed the feds' case, but Saxe enlists Rodriguez to support the kingpin rebuttal, ensuring to restrict her answers to yes or no. McLean's motion to dismiss is ultimately denied, but Blanca confirms that she'll testify for the defense. WTF moment number 2, Return of the Tate. You can't keep a good Tate down. The last we saw of Tate, his worst day turned into his best following the demise of his primary political adversary. Afterwards, Tate reclaimed his position in the governor's race and the Democratic Party at large, foiling the plans of everyone who opposed him while he was down. In this episode, we see Tate doing what he does best, shaking hands, smiling wide, and being everything the DNC needs to shore up the image of James St. Patrick and ultimately the party. Tate even agrees to give James his eulogy, but Tariq swiftly takes up the mantle, inspired by both Simon Stern and his mother's perspective of Ghost. Tate does serve as a pallbearer, however, piling on that good old press for the party. In WTF moment number 1, Tariq gives his dad's eulogy. Tariq meets Ghost's Uncle Gabe for the first time at his funeral. Uncle Gabe provides Tariq with one final insight before delivering the eulogy. Gabe's brief synopsis of James's life connects with Tariq, and he delivers a fair and balanced eulogy of his father, painting him as neither villain nor hero, but simply a complicated man who wanted what he thought was best for his family. He also lamented learning so much about his father in death, yet never knowing as much about him during his life, finishing with, "I guess you never really know a man like him." The term complicated harkens back to Tommy's warning prior to Tariq committing that heinous act. Tommy warned Reek that he didn't know the full truth regarding his own father, and only after he killed him did he learn that the truth was more complicated than what he knew. He finished with regretting having to live forever with what he did to Teresi. I bring this up to highlight the fact that Tariq is nearing this own point in his new arc, having to live with what he did to his own father as more revelations about Ghost come to light. It seems that we'll be getting those other forms of Ghost Courtney Kemp forecasted prior to the premiere. The apparition train, after all, is never late. Additionally though, Tariq lives up to the episode's title by exceeding the expectations of his lawyer, his benefactor, his mother, the viewing audience, and ultimately himself. He preserved his father's legacy on his own terms, without biting his nose to spite his face, something none of us expected. This was an excellent character builder in Tariq's arc, towards becoming better than his father could have ever dreamed, exceeding the already great expectations set forth by the lofty finale in Power's former construction. A few final points before we wrap up today. For one, Tariq has begun scoping his new school for potential drug networks. His roommate Braden will be a major catalyst in that effort going forward, and the fact that his last name carries so much weight will come in handy before season's end. Also, Tariq mentioned a third alternative to the 2 roads for drug dealers: death, jail, and something else. What do you think that third road is? Tasha's trying to navigate through the prison ranks, and that morning after pill she requested from Tariq will surely aid in that effort. Reek did get Tasha a burner inside with the help of the Tejadas, hidden in the book Great Expectations, a poetic touch for sure. Who was the female inmate with to require a morning after pill? My money's on Lorenzo, which wouldn't be far-fetched given that Monet is doing her own thing while he's been away. The Tejada family's suspicion of Tariq is warranted due to the nature of their underworld activities. The feds could have easily dropped Zika Tudor to infiltrate the family in a back doorway. Monet's private investigation of Tariq will be a bridge to their coming business arrangement. Blanca could very well be killed given her loose-end status to Saks and, more importantly, the DNC. If a party's reputation requires a life, then you know how that story is going to end. Plus, I think her character has run as far as the story will allow. It's all but over now. And lastly, the music in this episode was really dope, particularly during Carrie and Jabari's love scene, Kane's disposal of Uncle Frank, Ghost's funeral, and the end credits. Great selections this episode, guys. Thank you for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, go ahead and hit the like button for us, share it with your friends who are Power fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.